Hello, I'm Carlene Lane. I'm the accountant at the Montana Arts Council since February of 1978. I did not plan on being here this long, and I certainly didn't plan on becoming any kind of an expert on the subject that we're going to talk about today in the video, which is teaching artists in the Montana Arts Council Artists in the Schools program as an independent contractor or as an employee. It is an important and a complex area and has the potential for being very expensive and contentious if we get it wrong. First, I want to reassure you that it is not a personal attack on artists. It is, and that there is a way through the maze, but it's a maze, make no mistake. It is a confusing and complex area, and I'm going to make a disclaimer here and say that the information that I'm providing today is not all-inclusive. In fact, it's pretty narrow in scope and really only deals with the Montana Arts Council Artists in the Schools Communities program. You need to do your own research, talk to your own expert advisors, family, friends, other artists about the best way to go for you. You can also contact me for additional information. I'm happy to visit with you one-on-one. My contact information will come at the end of the presentation. The Federal Department of Labor has said online on their website that an individual, depending on the employment, tax, or labor law involved, the same individual, same identical circumstances, can be either an independent contractor or an employee. So even the lawyers can't get it straight, so we don't need to feel bad about not getting it straight. I guess it's what they mean when they talk about red tape. So why is this happening all of a sudden? Why is it such a big deal? I'm going to talk about the federal level first, just to give you an idea about what's going on there and why it has become such a lightning rod in the recent days. The IRS is worried about lost revenue. They think that there's billions of dollars being lost to the federal government every year. That's billion with a B, because of this misclassification. People considering if their employees independent contractors when they're really employees. So the IRS has a 20-point checklist on their website. We will have that information also on our website, so you can look at it and check it out for yourself. The first 4 points must be in place in order for a person to be seriously considered as an independent contractor or a self-employed person. They pretty much mean the same thing to the IRS. So the first thing is, do you have the ability to really make a profit or a loss with the work that you're doing? And we're not just talking about not getting paid by somebody, but the genuine entrepreneurial kinds of economic risk. Do you have an investment in equipment, in supplies, in facility? Do you have a studio space where you do your work? Do you work for more than one firm? If you're working full-time for somebody, for one organization or one school, the IRS is not going to be convinced that you're an independent contractor. And along the same lines, are your services offered to the public? Are you doing advertising? Are you truly seeking to be a business and to do this work for the general public? I just bring this up so that you're aware of that, of the concerns at the federal level. The issue for you in the Artists in the Schools program is the workers' comp law in Montana and their legal requirements. The history is very interesting, and they have all of this information out on their website, including a list of all the court cases that have been going on since 1978. But just before the 2003 session, there were two Montana Supreme Court cases where two construction companies, two separate cases, two separate construction companies, that became the tipping point, and there was known to be a big problem going on. The thing about construction companies is people make big salaries. So if something happens and they lose their income, there's a big liability potential. Plus the danger of the work. It is dangerous work, and people get hurt. And the state of Montana feared that they would be left holding the bag. In the 2005 session, they brought Senate Bill 108, to the 2005 legislature. This law established a procedure under which all independent contractors must apply for exemption from workers' comp insurance. There's a 15-point score. There's 15 points that you must score in order to be considered an independent contractor. Artists and arts organizations are like the dolphin in the tuna net. We are not who they were fishing for. As I mentioned, they were fishing for the construction industries. But that doesn't change the fact that we're caught in the net anyway. You know what I mean? So it is not impossible to get this exemption, though sometimes it seems like a catch-22. For instance, in the Artists in the Schools program, you must have the exemption in order to get the contract. Under the workers' comp law, you must have the contract before you can get the exemption. But there are other ways to get this exemption. The issue really is that you must be acting like a business. If you're acting like a business, they will consider you a business. If you're not acting like a business, they will rule that you're not a business. Things like commercial liability insurance, filing a Schedule C for your taxes, which is self-employment, and having a list of tools and equipment. Those are all 6 points, worth 6 points. And other activities that you can document will also gather you points toward the 15 points that you need to be self-employed. So it is doable if you choose to do it, but it's not necessary even to do it under this program, because the schools and organizations that we work with are willing to pay people as employees if they are not able to attain the independent contractor status. The issue for the state and the feds is determining who's in control of the work. If you're in control of the work, you're an independent contractor. If the employer is in control of the work, you're an employee. In either case, though, as a teaching artist for the Montana Arts Council program, you're in control of what you teach, the specific dates, and who you teach. All this is agreed upon in advance between you and the school or organization. Something I want to mention, it's a weird thing in Montana law, is if you are a musician working under a written contract, you will be deemed to be exempt from workers' comp. This is an interesting story. I'm not going to go into it here, but I'd love to tell you about it sometime if you're interested. It's between the Butte Bars and the musicians. So I have a table. I've put together a chart or a table that's available on our website. Also, the information about the workers' comp point system is available on our website. I forgot to mention that back in the proper place. But the chart that I put together for the cost for employees versus independent contractors compares the cost, and that information is out there so that you can look at it at your leisure. If you're comfortable acting like an employee and you want somebody else to take care of the filing and the paperwork, then being an employee will suit you. If you either have other self-employment income, and so you're already familiar with the process of how to do that, and or you want to start to take responsibility for the paperwork, jump through the hoop of getting the $125 exemption, then you'll be more comfortable as an independent contractor. It really is up to you. You know, it really is up to the individual, at least in this particular program. The bottom line is, don't assume that being an independent contractor is the only or the best way to go. Look at all the circumstances to make sure which approach is in your best interest. Remember the expert advice thing that we talked about at the beginning of the conversation. And remember that the scope of this information is very narrow, aimed pretty much at teaching artists in the Artists in the Schools Communities program of the Montana Arts Council. Again, I'd be happy to talk to you about your specific case and any questions you may have that I haven't talked about today or that I haven't clarified sufficiently for you. Thank you.